Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on marketing during COVID-19. My name's Dave Newick. I'm the Managing Director of Arken.legal, and I'm joined today by Pippa Shepherd, who is our Head of Customer Engagement. Very good morning to you, Pippa.
Good morning, Dave.
And in the background, you won't hear from her, but as always, she's capably running the webinar as our Customer Success Manager, Jessica Furbank. So many thanks to you, Jessica. Now, for those of you that haven't attended a webinar with us before, you'll note that there's a control panel up on the right-hand side, and we welcome the opportunity for you to ask us questions, and we will try and take those questions at the end, or if we can't do that because we're running out of time, then we can certainly pick those up with you directly later on. So do feel free to do that. It's the bottom icon on the right-hand side in the control panel. Now, we're broadcasting to you from 3 different locations today, and all those locations are at home. So please excuse us if there's any domestic noises. That can include my neighbour fixing his brakes on his car yesterday. Another webinar, I had the lawnmowers turn up, and we've got teenagers asking for food at different times. So please excuse us if that happens. Now today, the webinar is going to run for around about 60 minutes, and Pippa is going to cover the majority of that. I'm just going to talk very briefly at the start and at the finish. And these are the topics that we're going to explore. So obviously, we're going to talk about the marketing strategy and why we're looking at changing that now. And I know that a lot of you are from the blogs and things that I've been reading have been struggling and asking questions in and around how to market. And we're going to cover these key areas: product, price, place, people, and promotion. And then we're going to have the big wind up, the summary at the end. Now, a couple of things. There's a lot of content here, and Pippa's going to be presenting that. We do have a handout, so if you're struggling to keep track of all the information that's coming at you, and you've got key points that you feel you've missed, don't be particularly concerned, because you can come back and watch a recording of this at your leisure. You can pause that as you need to. And we do have a handout which is going to cover some of the main points for you as well. Now, just before we're going to get started, I like to set the tone for any webinars that we've run over the past, and you'll be some of you will be familiar that we've run a program of webinars over the last little while to really try and help our clients and our community through this process by sharing as much thought leadership, as much knowledge as we possibly can. Now, one of the things that I've found, if you'll indulge me for a moment in a personal story, is that I've been through many different economic cycles, and particularly in New Zealand, where I've spent most of my business career. Most of the businesses there are supported by people who have their own personal finances, typically the houses, on the line. And what happens is that then results in an overreaction, typically, to a lot of changes in economic cycles. And I've learned from that. And one of the things that I've learned is that typically, as a part of that overreaction, marketing then gets questioned. And often it's one of the first things that disappears from a budget. And one of the things that I've learned is that we shouldn't do that, because in fact that really exacerbates the problem. The second thing that I've learned is that mindset is really critical, and some of you will may raise your eyebrows or roll your eyes because I talk about this every time, but it's really critical, particularly when we come into times of challenge, that our mindset is as positive and as proactive as it can be, and that we are very much aware of the world around us that we can change. Obviously, we can't do much about the fact that this COVID pandemic has happened, and that the lockdown is in place, and that our businesses can be adversely affected. But there is the opportunity for us to control and manage the things around us that we can influence. And one of those things is our mindset, and the other is marketing. So as we come into this, and I'm sure that with the number of participants we've got on today, and we do have a a large number of you from all sorts of different firms of different sizes. I just ask you to consider your mindset and the way that you're approaching your marketing. The fact that you're here today, I think, shows that you're curious about how you can go about being successful, because the world has changed, as Pippa is going to explain. So, Pippa, I'm going to pass across to you, but before I do that, I'm going to attempt to embarrass you completely by saying that Pippa is rather experienced in marketing. She doesn't look it, but she's been around a while and has run the marketing and commercial affairs for some very large organizations, and we're very lucky to have her heading that function up along with the commercial team, our customer success, customer experience, customer acquisition teams here at Arken.legal. So, Pippa, I'm going to pass across to you, and participants, I really hope that you enjoy everything that Pippa is going to share with you. I think it's going to be very useful.
Brilliant. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for that intro. Now, one other thing just to add to what Dave said is when we asked our clients what webinars they wanted to see from us after we did our first business continuity one, marketing was one that came up top and that they wanted to see. So I hope I've given you a wide view of marketing here today, looking at all kinds of things, like Dave said, the product, the price, the place, the people. And I hope that really answers the questions you have. A lot of the time will be spent, though, on the promotion and the kind of marketing messages and that kind of thing that you can get out nowadays. As Dave mentioned also, there is a handout. I'm going to be going through some personas and some like 3 months worth of kind of plans with the different kind of things you can do. And that is as a handout on the webinar there. And an hour after the end of the webinar, you'll be sent an email. There'll be a feedback form in there, so please fill that out, let us know what you thought of it, and there'll also be a link on there for you to click through to see the recording if there's any information you miss, because I will be going at quite a pace. I've got a lot to cover here today, but again, you can watch it at your leisure at any time if you find it useful. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is why change your marketing strategy. So everything in marketing has been thrown up in the air. We know that. All the planning we did at the beginning of the year, including all the planning I did for Arken, the events we were going to attend, you know, the nice new images we'd sourced of happy families, people enjoying life, flying kites in the park, all that's now changed. Everybody's on lockdown. They don't really want to be reminded of their wider family interactions that aren't available in the virtual environment we live in at the moment. You may also pride yourself on the material you give out when you see your clients face to face to upsell your other services, or maybe your greatest source of leads has come from visiting care homes and now you need a new source of leads, so you need to engage in a different way. So everybody is having to rethink their marketing strategy. Now, from a business perspective, we're seeing 2 key trends. We're either seeing businesses that have got a huge extreme increase in demand and exponential growth. Think about supermarkets. Their entire product strategy, for which products sell more and the supply of them all, the supplies that they've got, orders they've got in with their suppliers. No one could have envisaged the demand for loo roll and hand sanitizer at the beginning of this year when they were working out their numbers. You know, you look at Next, you know, the demand for online deliveries went crazy overnight and they had to pull down their website. They put it back up, only to have to take it back down again. Demand went crazy. When negotiating with partners, things that normally could take months and months of negotiation, thinking through all the risks, getting the communication strategy right, negotiating on price, now that's, instead of taking months, that's taking minutes. So whether it's your communication strategy or your partnership agreements, everything is up in the air now. It all has to be rethought. Supply chains have had to react quickly, work together, divert deliveries from nice to haves to necessary. But with all those businesses that have increased and seen that extreme increase in demand, there are also those that have literally just fallen off a cliff. Their sales have just vanished overnight. You think about Pure Gym, they've lost £500 million. We're also talking to an events company and they've lost £6 million overnight. Okay, so there's a lot of businesses there that have lost huge amounts as well. The final point here is that whereas demand used to lead supply, now it's the other way around. You can only market what you have to market, And that's a point that I'll come back to later. Now, sadly, or positively for us in the industry, but sadly, there is a demand for wills at the moment that has increased due to the implications of COVID-19. So we are in an industry that is counter-cyclical, but we are seeing a demand increase at the moment. And the challenge is to get that demand to you as their advisor, and how you can manage that demand to fulfill your clients' wishes and create that legacy, which is a word that we'll come back to time and time again, for you and your business at the end of this. So if we continue that thinking, you know, we've literally looked out our windows one morning as society has changed. The busy hustle and bustle of life has gone. No more frantic getting the kids out of the house by 8 o'clock in the morning, especially for me. But instead, I need to be up early, planning their lessons for the day. Getting food has been a challenge rather than having a selection of goodies to choose from. Even our conversations these days, they stray into the personal and not the business. You can hear kids or dogs in the background that spark a conversation about home learning or maybe dog walking twice a day when you're only allowed to go out once. People are actually listening to the answer when you ask them how they are, and it's very genuine when they're asking about it. There's much more tolerance when you try and transfer a call. You have to bring it back because somebody's on the phone, but you can't see them. You don't have that visual clue that they're already talking to somebody else. So we're all in survival mode. Now, the needs of the buyer have changed as well. So whereas they would expect choice, they want their favourite brand. I know that I've never eaten any other baked beans other than Heinz, but now I'm just glad I can get some baked beans, and I've changed allegiance to Branston's. But people will still shop around for what they can get. They need to get what they can get for their requirements. At one point, I would quite happily have taken the scratchy loo roll from my primary school in the 70s rather than my normal Andrex super quilted. So people are thinking differently and buying differently. So when we're thinking about those requirements, we really do need to start thinking about the personas for who we're selling to. And when we talk about people, I'll come on to that and look at the different personas. We also need to think about the classic quality, cost, and time payoff. Normally, you don't get all three. You might get a quality product, but you pay more and it takes longer. You get a cheap product, it's normally lower quality, you might get it quickly. It all depends where you're positioning yourself with your brand. Are you normally face-to-face, high quality advice? The process may take a while, as everything is considered many times on both sides. But is that what your client is looking for now? You can't deliver that now. Face-to-face isn't possible, or a bit of a no-no. So you need to think about your product, and we'll come on to that. So what's the driver now? Is it time? Is it quality? Or is it cost? And you need to think about all that together. In our experience, they still want the quality, but time is a driving factor. They're maybe in slight panic mode. They want to get something done and done it quickly. Now, if we look at the IRN research in wills and probate industry, it shows the buying behaviours that there's very little interest in making the wills in the younger marketplace. So this was research that was done last year. And with an increase or decrease in the death rate, they will quite happily postpone will making further on. Now, that's all changed literally overnight. So there is more of an imperative for younger people to make wills, and people are looking at their mortality more. So they're quite interesting points to look at. The overarching message to take away, though, about why we need to change our marketing strategy. The client has changed, and the client has changed overnight. So understanding how they're changed is key to unlocking their mindset during COVID-19. But don't panic. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The plans that you had will probably be relevant next year. We hope so anyway. But we do need to think about the legacy that coronavirus is leaving us with. What is the wills and probate industry's legacy for COVID-19? What will our industry look like in a year's time? Will our customer have changed forever? Will people be more conscious of their own mortality? Will they be more willing and open to the idea of protecting their assets, their family, and so on? Because they can see how quickly life can turn on its head. Will that change the way that they buy forever? One of the things we're seeing is that all ages are embracing technology now. It's the only way to stay in touch. And even my 82-year-old mother is using Zoom to connect with us as a family. So it will potentially be a legacy for the industry that technology will influence the way that people buy. But let's have a look at the meat of the session today and start having a look at product. This is all about what you need to offer to the market. The first point here is don't react too quickly, don't panic, you don't have to change everything overnight. The first thing you need to keep in mind is your strategy. Don't lose sight of that. It's easy to say that everything's changed, like I mentioned earlier, but lockdown isn't forever. Whatever you do and whatever you change, it must still fit with your strategic plan. It must help your company hit your company objectives and financial targets. We all have budgets and have financial targets we need to hit, and these are still important even though we're looking at a difficult time. Whatever you do from a product perspective, you do need to keep return on investment calculations in mind. You can spend money at this time, as Dave says, don't cut back on that marketing necessarily, but make sure you have the plans in place to ensure you get a return on what you spent. If you think about something like online wills, Arken's product, forgive me for saying this, but Arken's product at the moment, normally £200, we've got it as £100 there for a limited period. That includes the first 7 documents that you're doing. If you charge £75 for an online will or £100 for every will that you check through the system, then you just need to get 1 will in that month to cover your costs. If you get 7, then you'll be £600 upon the deal. Just keep looking at that and keep thinking about your return on investment. Whatever you decide to spend your money on though, make sure you do it on something that will have a legacy, that it will give you something that will help you strategically for the future. Make those strategic investments and don't panic buy. We do need to be cost conscious, but we need to spend it on something wise. So in terms of the product, what is your offer right now? What is it that you're leading on? Can you lead on a different product that might be more relevant? If you're pushing LPAs for at the moment with the potential to the time that it would take to register LPAs, could you be talking more about advanced decisions or general powers of attorney that don't need that registration, but can give that advice or power to different people should you need it? Wills are obviously important too within that. And what is useful to the end user? What is it that they're looking for now? They're more likely to be looking for a quick response, a fast turnaround, so they can tick that off their worry list or their mental to-do list they've got there. Think as well about who your firm's product is right for, but right for now, not in normal times. What else can you offer that may help? Think about your thought leadership. Think about free help and advice. Think about webinars like we're doing now. Share your expertise to other people to try and help them through this situation. Again, it's all about that legacy argument. Show you genuinely care about people and their welfare now, and that will give you a legacy coming out of this crisis. Bundle products together to make them buying easy. Give them payment plans. But whatever you do, act now to get that there. If strategically you want to move into the online will space, implement it now. Don't wait for 3 or 4 months because you're missing out on 3 or 4 months of demand. Still a great strategic investment for the future, but you don't want to miss that immediate demand. So get that decision making quickly. The next point here is all about productivity and quality. So if you are experiencing high demand at the moment, how can you increase your productivity to fill all those requirements, but without negatively impacting your quality? You need to also maintain a consistency in quality, even though your delivery methods may change. Now, you would expect me to say this, but technology is a great enabler here. Whatever system you use, then use it. Employ it to the maximum of its capability. Can you make it work with more junior members of staff? Can they take instructions? Can they draft the documents, but then get it peer reviewed by a more senior member of staff? Can you get client instructions in digitally? Can you reduce the rekeying to get through that demand? Get non-furloughed support staff to do data input for you, manage elements of the process for you, all covered and monitored by the technology. It is more difficult if everybody's remote. You can't just reach out and ask for help, but technology can manage those processes for you. Think about the process management you can do through your CRM solutions. Think about will drafting and other document drafting through Arken. Think about client data capture through digital fact finds to enable your product to match the demand we've got at the moment. The process, as I've just mentioned, is obviously a key element too, and you need to see what processes work for you now. Map them out, see where you can cut out the non-added value elements to make that turnaround more slick. How can you make them work remotely, but still give that same quality and service your clients would expect from you? Where can you delight them with a fantastic client experience? How can you achieve this but still have uniformity of offer and do your risk management piece? How can you take the instructions so that your client still feels listened to? You might do that face to face. You might offering, but virtually. You might offer a signing service where you and a partner or a colleague go separately to witness the signing of the documents. Can you delight them in that way? Try and think outside the box to help your clients more. They will remember that in the future, and that will be your legacy. Demand is high, but you can only deliver what you deliver, so you need to match your demand with supply. You can add in other products like online wills, as I've spoken about earlier, but think how you would match this to your current client experience so it's not too different. You're still getting those brand vision messages out there. So if you currently offer, a nice step-by-step commentary on how each clause is built up and what it actually means to the client, make sure you still do that if you're offering an online will solution, so that the experience is the same throughout. Don't advertise what you can't deliver. We'll talk more about that in the promotion section, but don't be advertising on your website at the moment that your delivery method is home visits. We will sit down in the comfort of your own home, talk through the entire process. You can say that's how you normally operate, but now you would really welcome the opportunity to send them a link that they just click on to do a remote face-to-face instruction taking again. The amount of websites that I've visited of clients that still don't say anything about COVID and how they're actually managing through the COVID crisis is incredible. Let's move on to price. So we've just spoken about product and process within product. So what do you charge now for the new way of delivering? So do you feel it's still worth the same, or do you think you can charge more or maybe less than what you're currently doing? You might charge the same if you're doing a face-to-face video conference, as your time is the same and that's where a lot of the cost is. It's in your expertise. You might charge for witnessing a will, as that might take longer and involve disruption. So two people travelling from the office independently to the same location at the same time, all staying 2 meters apart. Or you might choose to do that free as a way of delighting your clients and building that brand for your legacy. But equally, your clients might prefer a fixed price at this moment, so they don't worry about escalating costs. But make sure that they know and you've communicated what they're getting for that, so it doesn't escalate and take you so much longer. Think about all the justifications around your pricing. Yes, you're charging the same for not quite the same service, but do you have extra overheads? So you're paying for video conferencing now, etc., that you can think about from a cost perspective. Have your costs reduced so you can charge less but make the same margin. But if you do that, think about your long term. Is this something you will offer later? Will you still do face-to-face remote video conferencing there? You don't want to set an expectation for a price that you won't be doing normally. So at least if you're offering special offers, make it clear that this price is only because of the current circumstances and you want to help. It's altruistic. Also look at what your competitors are charging. Has that changed? Do you want to do any offers now? Do you want to package products together? You can do the will and LPAs at the normal cost that you would normally do, but due to the urgency, can you put in there a general powers of attorney and advanced decision that will give them full control? So you're adding those documents in for free. You're giving that extra added value, but you're maintaining your price point with your normal will and LPAs. Think about voucher schemes here. Think about friends and family offers. So if you've done a will for somebody recently, can you say, look, we know that people are worried. If you've got any other family, friends, or family or friends that require a will or want a document at the moment, please pass on this voucher so that we can do it for them as a thank you for bringing a business to us. Still, though, do your value-based pricing. The value is in your experience and your advice. Don't undersell yourself at this time. If you're doing that, then you say you're doing that to help them. Match the expectation of price that you would normally charge. For example, we're doing online wills. It's currently £200 per month. We're doing it for £100 per month, but we're telling people that's discounted at this moment in time. We're not trying to then suddenly say we're doubling the cost. You need to set that expectation. Do keep an eye, though, on your overheads. Don't give it away because you want to be generous and find that you're not covering your costs. Like, none of us know what the future holds. There is the potential of a recession. And in a recession, you know, downwards pressure is always put on the price. So make sure you get your USP right now, your unique selling points right now, and your price right now, so it will stand the test of time if we end up going into a recession. Moving on to people. When we're looking at people here, we're talking about your key customer base. Is that still relevant now? Who can you be contacting now? Is it updates to wills for your current clients? Is it cross-selling services for those who are divorcing or have bought a house? Think about those that are not married and may not understand the rules of intestacy there, or they may want their partner to make medical decisions for them at this time. Are there more markets or new markets you can tap into? Millennials, for example, here, they're gaining assets, and COVID-19 has really made them consider their own mortality at this moment in time. Segment your market. Where do you get the best return from, and where will you get that now? Where are your more likely segments now? How is each group making their decisions now? How are they purchasing? That has changed. Who is purchasing for them potentially as well? Think about technology, and if they're looking at technology, are the millennials the sons and daughters of these normal people you would contact? Are they the ones that are making those decisions? I put in here about people as well, how you best use people. And if you've got some of the larger organisations here who've got the staff, at this time for marketing, you've got some young people potentially, even if they're your children and grandchildren, if you are a single operator, they're clever on social media. How can you use them and engage them with their skills to get your messages out there? Equally, how can you get your clients to get your message out there? Get them to use testimonials, share testimonials that your clients have sent to you, so you can show what other people are saying. It's not just about what you're saying. Our customers, though, are still demanding. They still want choice, but they probably won't shop around quite as much as they used to. So it's always good to look at a persona and consider the changes they might have undergone in the last few weeks. And I'll come on to that in a moment. As a summary then, who to? Well, think about your past client, your current clients there. Think about your usual marketplaces. Are there new ways of contacting or engaging with them? Can you facilitate virtual group meetings for them? Some of the more elderly groups you might still want to talk to. I know my mum is part of like a WI group. They're doing virtual meetings using Zoom, and they're still having speakers in there. How can you get that engagement with them and maybe help them still socialise virtually? So you're doing a really nice thing for them as well. Use a good contact to do it for you. You know, we talked about testimonials a little while ago. If they could put a message out for you saying, look, you know, I know you're all worried and you don't want to think about it, but if anybody does have concerns and does want to put their affairs in order, then I've used ABC wills and they were really good, and they're working and they can still do it during this crisis. Think about your new markets. Think about within your firm, if you're doing other work like conveyancing, or you've got unmarried couples, you know, there, or you've got people going through family law situations who might not be aware of the laws of intestacy there, then it's giving them advice going forward. Make sure, though, that you update your website contact page with any additional information with regards to your availability, how to get in touch, and should anything have changed. So I'm going to come on to personas, and this might be a new concept to many of you because this is a real marketing tool here. So what is it? It's a tool that helps you really step back, think about your customer, think about how they buy. And you can do a series of these depending on who it is that you are talking to. And it really helps whenever you're doing any marketing activity to think, who am I aiming at this? Am I aiming at this persona or that persona or somebody completely different? And it really helps, especially if you're going into new markets, to put yourself a new persona together so you can really start to think about their buying habits. I look at Arken, for example. We deal with large national firms, we deal with high street brands, multi-offices, we deal with one-man band operator wheel writers, and there's a different message. You know, we deal with accountants, independent financial advisor, funeral directions, directors. It's a whole spectrum of who we deal with, and we have a persona when we're talking to each of them about what their needs, what their concerns, what their worries might be. So it is something that's really good to really focus your mind. So I've got a couple here. This is Charles and Sylvia Evans. Okay, they're 71 and 69. They're married with 2 children, and they've got 3 grandchildren through there as well. They live up in Birmingham. They have enjoyed their retirement. They like going on holidays, and they've got interests in golf and other fitness. So they've been married for 40 odd years now. Sylvia was a primary school teacher. Charles ran a print business that one of their sons, Jonathan, now manages, but Charles is still a shareholder there. They're very active, they're very healthy, they partake in sporting hobbies like golf and walking, but both have had health issues over the last few years. Charles has got type 2 diabetes now, Sylvia's got high blood pressure. From a technology perspective, Charles is okay. Obviously, you ran your printing business, it was needed to do that. Sylvia's not too confident it would be Charles that would do that there. So if we look down the bottom here at the normal buying behaviour, well, normally they would make an appointment, they would want to come into the office to discuss any updates to the will they have. How's that changed now? Well, here they're self-isolated due to health conditions, but they are happy to fill in forms online and have a video conference to discuss things because they still want that face-to-face interactions. Previous relationship with the law firm, they used the law firm for business management. They have done house conveyancing recently because they downsized, but their last will was done 10 years ago, doesn't reflect the change in status from the business, and it doesn't say anything about the grandchildren. So here they're not a candidate for online wills. There's still the business to consider, there's still inheritance tax, and he wants to put in place some trust for his grandchildren. They are very concerned, they are self-isolated, and they want to do something quickly. So in terms of how you can engage with them now, well, a digital fact find might be appropriate for them. They're comfortable with technology to a certain level. Video meeting, if they can just press on a button, this generation does prefer face-to-face, so this is the next best thing to having that face-to-face meeting. But they are happy to ask their neighbours to do the witnessing. They don't necessarily need that. So you can start to see that if you were talking to a Charles and Sylvia that you would start to be talking to them not about online wills, but about how you can still do that face-to-face, give them the reassurance that nothing's changed, they can still get that advice that they need and want as their generation. But let's look at their other son here, Christopher. Christopher and Sarah have been married for a few years now. They've got 2 children, they're 36 and 35. They live in London, they're very interested in fitness and football. Charles and Sylvia's son, Christopher here, is a policeman. His wife's a part-time midwife. They own their own house in the suburbs of London and both commute to work by train into central London. So although they're incredibly healthy, they have an active lifestyle. Christopher plays football, Sarah's part of a running club. Normally, they would probably take advice from their mum and dad still, because it's something they're not familiar with in terms of wills, and they would like to talk to somebody to get advice. But here now, they're worried about guardianship. Both are in high risk roles. They want something in place quickly. They don't currently have a relationship with a law firm. They used a local firm, but just one that was local for conveyancing when they bought their house. So they don't have an embedded relationship with a particular company at the moment. Well, here they really are a candidate for online wills. They're very tech savvy. But they would feel more comfortable if it was checked by a professional advisor. Now, from a COVID-19 perspective, they are in a high-risk category from both their jobs and the location of where they live. So they'd be quite comfortable with doing an online will, but they would perhaps like somebody to check it for them. They're very comfortable with the technology. They're quite happy to purchase, very used to purchasing online, having all that whole hands-off approach, and they're very happy for witnessing. So again, you can start to see how those personas would change. So hopefully you can see that by really considering your buying personas, what their driving forces are in this very strange and different world we live in now. Okay, it's not the same. These are changed. All of ours have changed from what we're doing from a marketing perspective during COVID-19. So really sit back, think about who you are marketing to, think about who they are and what their buying behavior might be now. Hopefully that's given you some food for thought from a people and persona perspective. If I move on now to place, where do you currently market? Do you go to a lot of events, the local WI meetings, bowls clubs? Do you rely on passing traffic if you're the high street brand? Do you have a stand in the local shopping centre maybe, or a local event? Do you normally go into care homes? You know, where do your leads normally come from? And which sources have dried up at the moment? Which ones are still working? If they have stopped, if they've dried up there, you can't go to any events now, where do you go? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you can still go to virtual meetings and try and help that, offer to pop along, give a talk about the benefits of a general power of attorney or an advanced decision at this moment in time. Or how do you deal with wills? What's the best way of getting a will done at this moment? How do you get these documents signed? You've got a lot of information and intelligence you can put out now at that moment in time. There is still an awful lot of ways that you can interact with your clients, but you might need to find some new places too. So we'll talk promotion in a second, but where else will be people looking? Well, mostly online. So how can you advertise your wares online? What about local buying groups? Think about local buying groups from a Facebook perspective. I know mine in Tunbridge Wells, you can advertise local things there. We've got also a new Facebook group that is businesses offering services during the lockdown. If you've got something like that in your locality, then look into it, use it, see if you can get onto them. Are your local newspapers still being delivered? Can you get an article or a flyer in there? Or if they're doing e-versions rather than doing a hard copy version, can you get an article in there? Can you get some thought leadership? It is a topical subject at the moment. It is advice and help. So get yourself in there. People are also looking and buying locally. So anything you can do in your locality is really going to help you. The other top tip for me is make sure you've got a Google My Business listing, because if people are searching online, then they are going to be looking there and you want to be able to be there. Okay, most of you I know is looking for promotions and how can you actually promote yourself at this moment in time. So here I'm going to talk about the different communication tools you've got that you can use, the tone of voice at this moment in time, some key messages about messages, and then we're going to look at the examples of a few months plans and kind of thing that I would be recommending there. Just before we do that though, just looking at some research, and this research was carried out a couple of weeks ago by Kantar, and it was in the Marketing Week recently, and they surveyed 35,000 consumers, and 92%, so only 8% said no, but 92% people still thought that brands should be advertising. However, there is a clear expectation that companies play their part, with 78% of consumers believing brands should help them in their daily lives, 75% saying brands should inform people of what they're doing, and 74% thinking companies should not exploit the situation. So there is a high level of agreement that brands should use a reassuring tone, offer a positive perspective, and communicate those brand values. Okay. More than 50% also think brands should talk as they've always done, and 50% of companies say they should talk about their own brand in a carefree and light way, so not putting any dark, deep pressure in there. 41% think brands should avoid humorous tone. So although 60 or 59% still think that's fine, you've got to be careful in the way that you would use humour. So if you're worried about it, just stay to the facts, just keep plain and simple. But the research does throw up how careful you need to tread in terms of that, and I'll come on to some examples of that in just a moment. So what are your different communication offers? How can you actually get out there? I've split them into 5 different areas here. So we're looking at PR and media, so things like press releases, features and articles, letters to editors, clients that may be of interest to the press that have used you for their services. You may want to build a spokesperson for your firm. Think about forward features in the publications. What are they talking about, and where can you put a plug in there for your business with a bit of thought leadership? And press conferences for things like launch and new products. From a digital space, this is anything you can do online. So your website, your social media, your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever it is that you use currently. email campaigns, online advertising, search engine optimization, making sure you're getting to the top of the list if somebody searches for you on Google, pay-per-click advertising, again, making sure that you're getting up there and you're the one that they choose when they're searching for you. Content here, think thought leadership, think about fact sheets, think about articles, think about blogging, think about how to, you know, how do you get a wheel signed at this moment in time? What's the best documents that I can do at the moment? What's a fact sheet on the best way that I can put in place my medical requirements? Events, you've got face-to-face events, which are very popular, but you've also got virtual events. You've got speaking opportunity events. You've got things like we're doing today with webinars. And other things you've got snail mail still, so you've still got letters, you've got advertising offline, you've got different partnership agreements, working with other companies that may be complementary to what you're offering. Advertising POS is point of sale. So this may be in your firm or in your office environment where people normally come. You have a range of leaflets that cross-sell them. You've got collateral, so that's all your literature, your flyers, your brochures, everything you might do there. And you've got telemarketing where you might be phoning people up and seeing if there's a requirement. So that's what you would normally have. But what would you do? What would you take out now? Well, actually, there's not too much to take out. You're not going to be doing press releases at this time. Nobody's launching anything. You don't really want to be shouting to the press about special offers you may have, unless it's something really relevant. So if you can be a hero to help the hero, so if you're offering online free wheels, for example, for NHS staff or for the police or whatever it happens to be, then that might be worthy of a press release. But really think about it at the moment. There's so much stuff out there. Letters to editors, yes, you can do that if it's a relevant topic to your expertise and you're following up on something that's being published before, but it has to be on the right message and on the right tone. So for me, I would just tend to avoid that for now. There's still so many other opportunities you've got. Press conferences, face-to-face, obviously is a complete no-no. If you do want to do anything, I would invite press to things like webinars or things like that you're running. You can't go face-to-face events, so that's kind of completely out of there. You can't do advertising point of sale, but can you use some of that material to send out to your clients? If you're sending them invoices or you're sending them information on something to do with business management, or you're helping them with something else, then you could put some of that point of sale material in there, but you're not going to concentrate on getting a load more printed. Collateral you would still use, but telemarketing, I wouldn't be looking as if you're ambulance chasing at the moment, phoning everybody up and saying, are you doing your will? Then I can do that. Now, this isn't obviously an exhaustive list, but it just goes to show you there's a not huge amount off the table at the moment, as long as it's the right tone and the right message, and we'll come on to those elements in a minute. But if you ask me where I would focus, for me, and this is all the stuff that I've highlighted in black here, for me, I would be focusing on your content and your digital. So information, building that spokesperson for your firm, acting as a liaison for the press if they've got any questions and they want anything answered. You know, they'll remember that in the future. Think legacy still. You know, what documents are you recommending at this time? Digital, this is obvious at the moment, but don't overlook the simple things like your website. It's where people are going. They're going to your website first and foremost. So what is your website saying? Think back to the place that we talked about. Where are they looking? Your content is king. Help, advice, information, just to make your clients feel special, if nothing else. You know, give them advice. If you've got documents you haven't yet got signed, this is how we'd recommend you getting them signed at the moment. Can you get that spokesperson or speaking opportunities like you normally would? How can you still get in front of people in that respect? And collateral. Can you get something that's done that's sensitive if you're sending the other documents out to clients? Can you include there how you can help during COVID-19? Think things like infographics that can get the message across very nicely, and I'll show you how I've done that in a moment. Lots and lots for you to do. Look at the social media. It's where a lot of people are spending a lot of time at the moment. Now, looking at the tone, be honest. You don't need the marketing hooks or reasons to sell your estate planning services at the moment. That's given. It's given for the situation we're in. You just need to communicate your quality and your accessibility. i.e. you're still working, you can conduct over the phone interviews, you can do video conferencing if you prefer a face-to-face meeting. Talk about the unprecedented demand, but don't worry, we have the staff, you can still come to me, I'm there, I have the space to help anybody who's worried at this time. But do avoid to appear to be capitalising on that situation. We know you wouldn't do, but people can be very worried and very sensitive at this moment in time, and they may interpret things differently. So be very careful on the choice of language and how you're presenting yourself. Calling clients to say things like, I just wanted to call you directly to check in. Given the situation, I want you to make sure that you've got all the documents, you're happy, you're not worried about anything. Have you got any questions that I can answer while I'm on the phone? Just be brief, be nice, be reassuring, show that empathy. They're looking for reassurance, and you are one of the things that can help reassure them at this time. Remain calm, very professional. Avoid discussing like human-related scenarios. Empathise as well. You might also be putting additional affairs in order. Connect there on a human level if you can. Stay connected and productive through technology there. So making a will is very personal. It's important you invest in the software that will keep you connected with your clients while enabling you to be as productive as possible while working from home. So face-to-face is a really good option for you there. Think as well about the subject line of your emails. Take time to make sure they're clear and it says what it does. That good old Ron Seal, it does what it says on the tin. You know, people are getting a lot of information. Don't worry, clients. Check in might be better received at COVID-19. What we're going to do when you're talking about personal issues. Make sure though that you update your website page with any additional information in regards to your availability, how you're working, or if anything has got changed. Now I'm just going to share with you some bad and some good examples of communication during this time. So looking at bad examples, ASOS do chain masks. Now, to be fair, this was put out there before the crisis, but it was running as the COVID-19 was sweeping across the world. They didn't pull it early enough, so it wasn't deemed to be particularly a good thing to do. Look at Lysol disinfectant spray here. The advert, and you can search for it online, it's on YouTube, is a kid wiping their nose and wiping it on a doll's arm. And it's not talking about anything from a government advice perspective. So it's not saying, oh, please don't do that, little Tommy, you know, use a tissue. It's just the mum spraying it with spray. Nothing to be done with what the advice is. And even if you wanted this product, they're advertising it out there, you can't get your hands on it. It's all sold out. So it's not appropriate, it's not on government message, and you can't buy it anyway. So it's not a very good example. KFC. This is a really interesting advert, just showing a multitude of people licking their fingers after eating KFC. So there's even a time when somebody licks their partner's finger. There's one where a man licks his finger and then carries on reading the newspaper and turns the page. It's just so not on the tone of what things are at the moment, and yet it was still running for quite a while. Let's have a look at some good examples though. Good examples are those that are following the government message but still getting their brand out there. So this is all about social distancing, and when you look quickly you might not spot it, but VW have actually moved the V and the W apart. So they're actually doing a bit of social distancing, and if you look at the McDonald's sign, they're doing exactly the same thing. Very clever to do that. We've got some more here. This is about supportive of government messages and staying at home. Now this is IKEA on the right hand side, and this is where humour can work if it's done in a very good way. So you're saying here, stay at home, we don't want to see you, keep your door locked, don't have it open. You know, all you need is a key, a lock, and 100 rolls of toilet paper. So they're using a bit of humour there, but they're using their current brand, their current styling in a very good way. Guinness. Iconic in its marketing, Guinness is, but again very on message, but you still have got the black and the cream, which relates to Guinness, and still makes you think about Guinness and, oh, wouldn't that be nice? You know, if you look at the sofa and the stay at home, it's almost like a pint glass of Guinness, so it's sending your mind to thinking, oh, I'd love to sit on that sofa with my nice pint of Guinness, but it's still very much on brand. Just do it isn't necessarily the right message for Nike at the moment in time. Just ignore everything, just go and do whatever you like. So here they've been very clever, and they have used play inside, play for the world. So stay inside, but still be active and fit, because if you do, then you're playing for the world in sort of like the team environment. You're doing your bit to make the world a safer place at the moment. Very, very good examples there. Now, some of you might call me cynical here, but I think we've all seen Captain Tom Moore, I think his name is, the wonderful 100-year-old that has done 100 laps of his garden and raised 20+ million pounds for the NHS. What you've seen now is now got a single out with Michael Ball. Now, you look at that, Michael Ball spotting a fantastic man who's done something really brilliant for society at this moment in time. In my marketing experience, and probably cynical brain here, that is more than likely a highly crafted PR move. Jumping on the back of something social, looking as if it's supportive and being amazed by it all, giving something back to the NHS with his single with Tom. But what he's doing in the background there is raising his profile, increasing the numbers of records that he's sold. He's getting good branding. He's getting his voice in front of a load of potential bookers. That is his legacy out there in the marketplace. It might be cynical, but I'll ask you locally, and if you're thinking about your local environment, what's your Michael Ball moment? So how can you do something seemingly fantastic for society, but gets you that legacy in the background there? The other thing I would say is don't use terms that people don't understand when you're doing any marketing at the moment. They are less tolerant of that. They just want it in very plain and clear English. So you see here, practice social distancing. Before this happened, did any of us know what social distancing actually meant? No. You've got to be very clear. Stay at home, get groceries once a week. Very, very clear. Don't start talking about your new online wheels product that allows you to do 2 different levels of distribution of residue. Nobody will understand what you mean. Looking at messaging, and I am going to sort of like pick up the pace because I'm conscious of time, but be on government message. Don't do anything to flaunt that. You can still come to our offices as we're key workers. I can still come to your home. Don't go there. Stay on government message. Be positive, reassuring. Think about those peaceful messages. Keep it short, keep it clear. Use very simple language. Make sure it's also about your brand values. Don't lose sight of them. Make sure it's 100% on brand. If you have offers, communicate them, but don't look as if you're trying to benefit from it. If you've done a will for a client, you can on their letter or email say there's somebody else in your family, give the voucher there, but be careful how you communicate. Content, content, content. Give the advice, give the help, give the recommendations you need there, but also be very client focused. So can you send a different communication to people you've already dealt business with? As a valued client, I wanted to reach out, see how you and your family are. Do you have any other questions at this time? Don't go in for the sell, I can update you will now. Just start that conversation, see how they are, see how the land lies. Be very positive. If you're looking for peace of mind, nice word, peace of mind, very positive. Don't use words like, are you worried? That whole negative implication. You need to be worried. Don't try and use those, don't use those negative words. Be more positive about it. Live in the same world as your customers. So please don't send out email campaigns with pictures of happy families or people socializing in pubs at the moment. We all live where we're living at the moment. So think about your segment of the market. Think about if it's vulnerable, got to be really careful of your message there. It has to be really sensitive. Be more practical than aspirational and creative here. But please don't be afraid of communicating. Get your messages out there. People need solutions. There is a need. We've seen that in the increase of documents that are going through everywhere at the moment. You can help. And you need to. There is that need. You've got a valuable message for your consumer. And just don't look as if you're taking advantage. You're not hurting anybody here. You're giving them help. Key little bit of extra top tip there for me. The Google search engines use algorithms, and they look for the EAT principle. So they look for expertise, they look for authority, and they look for trustworthiness. That's EAT, E-A-T. Think about that whenever you're doing any communication. Can you show your expertise? Can you show your authority? Can you show that you're trustworthy? All right. I'm going to go on to some plan examples here very quickly, just to show you some examples of what kind of things you can do. Now, these are in the handout for you. So month one, what can you do? I've looked at website, email, social media content, speaking opportunities, collateral. You know, website, make sure you've got your message out there about how you're working. Remove any inappropriate messages or image. Show them how you can help them through this. From an email perspective, messages to clients, old and new, re-engage with them. Same messages as your website, we're working, this is how we can work. It's a really good excuse to contact them again. Social media, again, the same messages, repeat, 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 3 communications strands, people will remember it. Get it out there on your Facebook page, get it on your LinkedIn page. Do shorter bursts. You know, I'm working remotely if you want to hear from me. Do you want to know about the documents I recommend at this time? Keep repeating those posts. They won't necessarily see them the first time. Content. Think about the first stage of your content strategy, your content marketing. What documents would you recommend? How can you sign while social distancing? Get those out, repeat them. Can you go to any virtual meetings? Can you put feelers out to the press if they would like articles or help at that time? Can you suggest a spokesperson if they're wanting to do articles or interviews? Your collateral, is there any fact sheets you can do? How your business can help with COVID-19? How you can help, leaflets that you can put in client packs from other departments? There's lots of different things that you can do here. But one of the things, don't forget the Google My Business listing. Get that up there so that you're one of the options if they're searching for somebody who can do wills in their locality. Month 2 then, we can progress. So back up here on the website, we can progress where we are. We can repeat messages about how we're working. We can give articles or insights. We can still email to our clients now to say, you know, or maybe who've not been clients with you in the past, but you've had some interactions. Obviously, GDPR compliance is important there. Follow up your client email, recommendations that you should have in place at this moment in time. Social media, again, the recommendations, split them over various posts, repeat them, comment on, share what other people are putting out there. We're putting different blogs and articles, for example, out there, not just about technology and about wills, lasting powers of attorney, advanced decisions, which is our expertise, but also things like how to avoid cabin fever, how to work from home, you know, benefits of cloud technology. There's lots of things that you may know about that you can help just to get your message out there. Be that thought leader. Even profile a staff member working at home, get their picture, much more engaging content. Can you do a video of your key spokesperson and get that out there? Can you do a Facebook Live that some people are doing? Can you do a webinar like I'm doing with you today? Can you send out material if it's appropriate? Can you do an infographic or other images that you may use here? I'm just sharing with you some of the things that we've been doing at Arken. So on our homepage, we've got a business continuity during the COVID-19 outbreak. So exactly what we're doing, how we can help, the webinars we're doing. We have got a complete COVID-19 page, which goes about how we can help. It lists all the webinars, the products we've got that can assist, the special offers we've got here now to enable you to implement them very quickly. And we've got this graphic that summarizes it all that we can use across our social media channels, on our insight pages, etc., and through our channel partners. So month 3, we're moving on to month 3 now, very conscious of time, but insight articles, online wills or fact finds you can launch, show how you've changed during the pandemic, the lessons you've learned maybe, that could be a piece of your content. Email to anybody that you've got that might need a bit of help. Keep posting on your thought leadership, keep posting in Facebook groups, post compliments from clients on how you've helped them and what you've done differently and how you've delighted them through this, how you've worked at home, how you've been balancing homeschool with work. That's a classic one for me there. Keep sending out materials that's appropriate, updates it as time changes. If lockdown is ending, what are you doing? What are your messages there? How are you going to be work as it's gradually lifting? Keep that changing. And the one thing I will say, this is a 3-month plan, but keep it a rolling 3-month plan. As soon as month 1's done, add in month 4 and keep going as you go there. Now, things like those infographics I've shown, there's tools out there that you can download. I did that one on PowerPoint, saved it as a PDF. They're not difficult things to do, just think creatively to get something out there quickly. Now, I have shown you a huge amount of stuff. I'll summarize this really, really quickly for you. Stay relevant. Whatever you do from a marketing perspective, your offer has to suit the marketplace. Put your non-essentials on the back burner. Don't do a press release at the moment about a new office or a new member of staff, or you've created a new logo. Keep those things to after the pandemic is over. Focus online. It's the starting point for most nowadays, and definitely when they aren't going to be in the pub. You know, they're not going to be in the pub asking their friends who they use. So think about that focus online. And if you haven't got social media, or if you have but you don't spend a lot of time on it, now's the time to do that. Build your presence, build your brand, gain your followers. That's your legacy coming out. Also look for ways to help. Focus on your expertise, your experience, how you can help people at the moment. What's worrying them? What's concerning them? How can you give them answers and peace of mind? But do all this with tone, the right tone. And we talked about that. But if you're not sure, try things out with family and friends. See what they do. But analyze all your marketing activities. See where you're getting that ROI. See where you can get the most bang for your buck there. Legacy and brand. That's the final thing. Think about your legacy, think about your brand and what you want to come out of this pandemic having changed or being reinforced. Where will you be in 2021 or 2022? What can you do now that can influence your future brand, your future customer base, and your future success? I think that's all I am going to rattle on about today. We do have another webinar coming up on Thursday, which is all about business continuity during COVID-19. It's looking at business, staff, the financial support and some of the legal aspects there. So please join us on that if you want to. And we do have lots of others like financial management, online wills and business continuity part 1 that we have done. Now, gone through a lot. Don't forget, it will be in the recording at the end of the email. Please feedback on it. That's me, I think. Dave, is there anything you'd like to say at the end of that?
Look, Pippa, I think you've covered such a wide range of things there, and I just wanted to say thank you. That was an absolute masterclass, and I know that the participants would have got a lot out of that. So very conscious of time, as you pointed out. I just wanted to close out by saying stay well, stay positive, don't lose sight of your strategic objectives, and try and change the world that you can influence. Don't be too concerned about the things that you can't. So that's a goodbye from us. Do feedback. We'd really love to hear back from you as to what you thought of this and any other ideas you have on any other way in which we can assist you. So good morning. We look forward to participation again. Goodbye.